Good evening and welcome to the Greg Tompsett Football Show. Tonight, we are going to go all around the Week 11 matchups to be able to see all the fun that can be had here in this week of NFL football. It's a very top-heavy week. There's 3 or 4 really, really good games, and then some really extra terrible games because when a bunch of the good teams play each other, that's cool, but it doesn't leave a lot for the other games to take place. So without further ado, let's jump right in. As always, we will be using the guide of our friend and compadre Uber Hansen with his Bills rooting interest article, which you can find here, as well as his work over on the Bills subreddit and on Sports Illustrated, along with producer Chris Seth as well. So tonight we will work our way through the first game without a ton of rooting interest. We obviously have Commanders the Eagles. This was one of the games I was really, really excited about this week, and it's been a terrible football game, just really horrendous, terrible football. Um, I I hope the second half's more entertaining. Obviously, with the strength of victory tiebreakers that are in there, and there, he explains that there's 2 AFC teams strength of victory that would be hurt by the one. We go through and he explains why the Eagles technically are the team to root for. I don't think it's going to stop me from root for the Commanders. I like that story in Washington, but in theory, there is more strategic value in the Eagles winning. I don't tell Uber I'm still going to root for the Commanders. Same thing, Packers, Bears. The Bears have been a dumpster fire. Obviously, just fired Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator. Lots of things going the wrong direction. They need offensive line help if Caleb Williams is going to ever turn into the prospect he could have been. I'm not out on him as much as some people are trying to seem to be celebrating his struggles. I think he's still going to be a good player, but he needs protection. It's crazy right now. Packers coming off a bye, excellent coaching, team getting healthy. I think the Packers run away with it here. And the good news is with the tiebreakers, it actually helps the Bills. So the way that this one lines up, easy rooting, that's Packers. Jaguars, Lions. I'm not even going to spend time on this. Lions are going to thrash the Jaguars. The Jags are in full give up mode. They're literally the number 1 pick right now if the draft were to start tomorrow. We root for the Lions because the Lions are fun. I would love to see a Bills Lions Super Bowl, and we'll see if that one continues to go, but we'll root for the Lions either way. Vikings Titans. This one again is, in theory, I wouldn't mind some more losses for the Vikings here to help the Bills' second round pick, but that ship is pretty obviously sailed. I will say, we talked about it in the recap show on Sunday night. There's a little bit of that Sam Dalton seeing ghosts coming back to roost here. I don't know if Sam's turned back into a pumpkin. There's a chance that even with Kevin O'Connell in his ear and calling the plays, that he's still kind of getting found out and teams are getting prepared for it. So again, there's some technical reasons that we root for the Vikings here, but the Titans are a good 2-7 team, as good as a 2-7 team could be. There's talent on that team. They can hang with teams. They have been. Mason Rudolph obviously isn't scaring anyone. Vikings are probably going to win here, but Sam Darnold, the Vikings beat the Jags last week 12-7 without scoring a touchdown. I don't know if you could do that against Tennessee. I think Tennessee might be a little bit better than Jacksonville, even though their records are the same or very similar. So we'll root for the Vikings, but I won't be sad if the Titans pull the upset there. Here, easy one for rooting interest. The Raiders against down in Miami at the Dolphins. And obviously the Dolphins got a little glimmer of hope here with their third win, very similar to when we saw the Jets get to this exact same spot. 2-6, they win their third game, and weirdly at 3-6, all of a sudden both fan bases started telling themselves, "Hey, I don't know, you never know, we might have a chance here. We could go on a run." I will laugh hysterically if the Raiders are the team that ruin their hopes and plans. I don't expect it. I actually think the Dolphins are going to be able to find a way to win here. But very clearly, as with every single game that's ever been played, we're rooting against the Dolphins. That's easy. Next one, Rams Patriots, same idea. This one's super easy. I love the Rams. I like Matthew Stafford. I like Sean McVay. They needed to win last week. They got to get their stuff back together here. But the Patriots have been perfect. They've won just enough games to ruin what could have been an exceptional draft pick. It's still going to be a pretty good draft pick because they're not going to win too many more. But I will say Drake May has looked more promising than I was hoping. I was hoping he would just be a flaming disaster of poo and nonsense, and he hasn't. He's shown glimmers of hope, but not as much glimmer as what Patriots fans seem to tell themselves. They're pretty sure they already have Josh Allen, and they have a Josh Allen clone, and everything's going to be great. I don't know that I've seen that, but he's looked better than I hoped he would. So obviously, we're rooting for the Rams just to be able to ruin that, but the one silver lining is even with a Patriots win, at least it makes it that they don't get one of those top tier offensive tackles to protect Drake May in next year's draft. Um, Brown Saints again with some of the tiebreakers. It makes sense to root for the Saints here. These are two teams going nowhere. You have Jameis Winston against Derek Carr. I don't know if Coach Rizzi has another dead cat bouncing him with the new coach theory and getting fired and trying to have a little more juice, but it did seem that Dennis Allen being out of there did help them last week. The Browns coming off their bye, they're going back to Jameis. They actually have a decent amount of guys getting healthy, might have a little bit closer to whatever version of Nick Chubb we're going to get here this week. Their season's obviously done at 2-7, but I think you'll at least see a more competitive team with them this week. But of course, with tiebreakers, strength of victory, all the different pieces there, we'll root for the Saints and root for the NFC team. Big one here. Ravens Steelers. Now, this is an interesting one because as you go through here, you look at the head-to-head tiebreakers, which we don't play the Steelers. So the Ravens already having the game in hand against the Bills. That's a pretty clear one. You can also go some of the different options there with where some of the other losses came from. I think you can make a case that both teams getting a third loss has some value versus the Bills, but getting the Ravens back into first in their division versus being now it would be 2 full games down against the Steelers. I think that there's still reason here to align in this direction. He has it explained where rooting for that, you pull them both down, you get them there, and you root for the Ravens. I think there is a case to be made that putting the Ravens, a game and a half, 2 full games down behind the Steelers and making their head-to-head tiebreaker less likely to ever come up again, at least has some relevance. But again, I know that Uber makes a case here to be able to show that there is logic of why we would want the Ravens to win, pull them both down, give us a full game lead against either of them. So that one, I can't make up my mind. I get the logic that Uber is sharing there, but I think I'm rooting for the Steelers just to give the Ravens a 4th loss. I don't think the Steelers are a paper tiger. I don't think that they're some pushover. Their defense is phenomenal. Russ is throwing moonballs up to both George Pickens and now Mike Williams. I think they're going to be able to just pound it, play action deep shot, pound it, play action deep shot. It's going to beat some teams. I think the Bills can handle it. I'll take that shot. I won't mind pushing the Ravens back down another round. Colts and Jets. Again, this one here is, for tiebreaker purposes, it helps with the Colts to win. I think that, again, the Jets got destroyed by Arizona last week. Arizona just ran it at will down their throat. I think that was a really embarrassing loss. I think this team is ready to just fully go off the rails in what they're doing. And that'll be entertaining to see. So I'll be rooting for the Colts to win purely for the cinema of watching Aaron Rodgers lose. A couple fun stats I saw floating around. They have now, in the Zach Wilson era of Zach Wilson starting for the Jets and in the stretch of Aaron Rodgers starting for the Jets, they have scored the exact same points per game, like down to the decimal, the exact same points per game. And Aaron Rodgers is averaging 1 more passing yard per game than during the Zach Wilson Jets era. So all of Aaron Rodgers, what he has brought to the Jets is 1 more passing yard per game over Zach Wilson. Exact same points per game, 1 more passing yard per game. That is just a delicious, delicious stat. So enjoy that on my behalf. It was delightful when I heard it the first time. Falcons Broncos, again, always rooting for the NFC team here, pushing down, giving more cushion. The Broncos are already way too far behind the Chiefs for any, kind of backdoor theory of them taking down the Chiefs as a AFC West champion. That obviously ship is fully sailed down 5 games with 7 to go. So just pushing down, giving more cushion within the AFC playoff picture has more value. Seahawks Niners, again, this one, there are technically some straight to victory things here to root for the Seahawks. This is going to be an interesting one I'm going to have to rewatch because it's on at the same time as the Bills, and we'll be playing the 49ers coming out of the bye, but I'll have time to watch that with the Bills on bye. So we'll check that out and see where it goes, but that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on and to go back and rewatch to get ready for the game coming out of the bye. Chiefs Bills, of course, super easy one. We know what we need here. If you haven't had a chance yet, come on over. Check out Aaron and I spoke with Kent Swanson, who does fantastic work over at KC Sports Network. They are the cover one of Kansas City, a really strong independent group who does fantastic film breakdowns, pregame previews, postgame shows, all kinds of awesome work. Really, really great stuff. Very similar to what we've been able to build here in Buffalo at Cover One. KC Sports Network is good stuff. So check out Ken jumping on with us. And I know a couple other guys came on with Anthony Prohaska as well on Disguise Coverage. Great partnership that we have with that group over there. In Sunday Night Football, an interesting one here where you have the Bengals at the Chargers. And again, this is similar to talking about that Bengals game last week where I don't mind putting some nails in their coffin. They've found some way to win games. The Chargers have been a tough team. They've been able to go through and kind of hang in a lot of these teams. They very clearly look like one of the wild card teams. I get the logic that we put together here of, giving more cushion closer to 500 gives that kind of backdoor cushion for the Bills in case they lose some games. I'm okay risking that by giving the Bengals a 7th loss. I just they're that high variance team. I don't think they're a consistent team, but we know they can put up a bajillion points. I don't want to deal with that if I don't have to. I'll take my chances with a 3 yards on a cloud of dirt team like the Chargers. I know that strategically I agree with the math of what Uber's laying out here. I'll take the Chargers getting a 7th loss. I'll be rooting for the Chargers that night. In Monday Night Football, we're subjected to another Cowboys game, and this one possibly without any of those top guys. Dak obviously had season-ending surgery. Sounds like CeeDee Lamb is on the fence. We got Micah Parsons back, but the Texans are pretty likely going to thrash the Cowboys. I'll root for the Cowboys to find a way to win, just to give the Texans another loss, but I certainly do not expect that to be the case. So we'll see where that one goes, but we'll be rooting for the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. All told here, obviously, we appreciate everybody jumping on here with us. Lots of fun things to watch for. We'll just have 1 or 2 more of these Greg Tompsett football shows coming up. Then I'm going to take a little break for a family vacation. But I'll be going through, and on Sunday night, maybe instead of doing a recap, we'll talk about some of the things to watch for during the bye, maybe some predictions of the following schedule for the Bills season and other things going on. So make sure you check it out. Join us on Sunday night, hopefully after a Bills victory versus the Chiefs. But on behalf of our team here at Cover One and fantastic producer Chris Seth, I'm Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to the Greg Tompsett Football Show, and we are